What's the panic meter surrounding the Charlotte Hornets after their loss to Minnesota in overtime last night? Plus, it's West Wednesdays. We play Fire or Fizzle at the end, all today on Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, local experts on the #1 daily sports podcast network. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and we're available on all platforms. Check us out wherever you get your pods. Also, check us out on YouTube where you can catch us there as well. Follow us on Twitter, Walker Mail, Doug Branson, LOH, and the show feed at Locked On Hornets. Another bad loss, Doug. I'm sorry you can't put on the big dub hat and instead just had to go with your run-of-the-mill pinstripe Hornets hat, which looks pretty dope, but I can't lie. I would like to have seen that dub hat instead, but you can't wear it. I mean, brutal. Like this, we're in a brutal state right now. We're about to hit the Mayday button going into the All-Star break where the only game you have left is at home against the Miami Heat, the #1 team in the Eastern Conference. It doesn't look good for them right now.
I mean, it's brutal. For 3/4 of this game against Minnesota, I had the big dub hat out of the basketball goal and on my desk ready to wear. And then in the fourth quarter, the Charlotte Hornets give up 9 offensive rebounds. And then in overtime, don't pay attention on defense. I thought defensively and just as an overall like attention to details kind of game, this was one of the worst for the Charlotte Hornets. And specifically, I'm going to call out Miles Bridges, who got backdoor cut off ball in the fourth quarter that allowed an offensive rebound that turned into a D'Angelo Russell 3 that got them within 4, I believe, at that point. And then got backdoor cut for an actual basket in overtime that I thought really shifted the momentum fully into Minnesota's favor. But he wasn't the only one. Just a lack of physicality on the boards in that fourth quarter. Montrez, LaMelo, Miles. I mean, it was all just like allowing Minnesota to get into a position where they could utilize their superstar. And Karl Anthony Towns delivered.
Karl Anthony Towns was special. You tweeted it. I honestly thought about tweeting it. It helps to have a superstar. I mean, 39 points. The guy is amazing. Offensively, he's one of the most gifted big men that we've ever seen in NBA history, especially when it just comes to shooting the basketball. He's legitimately one of the best. He goes 4 of 11, but it was the 3 3-pointers that he hit at the end of the game. Now, the only real problem I have with one of those threes is the fact that Montrez Harrell was so far off of him during his last 3 that he hit. But the one that got him the 1-point lead, 105 to 104, when he hit that 3-pointer, and Karl Anthony Towns seemed more relieved than he did excited after they got that lead. It was that Mason was contesting on that, like he's out there pretty decently far. And even James Borrego after the game said he felt like they did a decent job on the perimeter against Cat until late. And then, it all went to hell. But Montrez playing far off of him. And then you mentioned Miles Bridges. I was going to talk about him as well. He got beat backdoor a couple of different times. And this is the thing that holds Miles back defensively from being a real problem, because we know that one-on-one ISO, like he can hold his own a little bit. Lateral quickness isn't amazing, but he can still come over for weak side blocks too as a team defender. That can help as well. But he falls asleep. Like this is what happens with I literally said this yesterday on the show, that your best defenders, you're missing Cody Martin, you're missing Jalen McDaniels. PJ, I mean, defensively, yes, he's one of the better defenders. It's a problem when he only hits 1 field goal, and that happens a little too often, but other guys are getting involved in the offense, whatever. Like Miles needs to be a two-way player, and sometimes he is. But then other possessions, he's not, where he falls asleep. And that was a real problem. You're right. It wasn't just Miles, but those were some of the more egregious errors. When you get beat backdoor late like that, that's what's tough.
No, and I think I've read some comments on YouTube and Twitter about how we're hard on Miles and LaMelo Ball sometimes. It's like, yes, they are the leaders of the team. They're the best players on the team. You expect them to play big in big moments, and when they don't, I think you have an obligation to call it out. And look, Miles had a great game offensively, 28 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, he was doing a lot of fantastic things, but the things that don't show up in the box score, like paying attention on off-ball defense, I think cost them this game. PJ Washington, not great on offense in this game, 1 of 5 for 3 points. Kelly Oubre, his descent offensively.
He's hurting the team. It's bad.
It's as damaging as it is confounding. I mean, I know you're not confounded by it. You seem to think that this was always going to be what Kelly Oubre turned into. But I mean, it wasn't very long ago when you and I were sitting here debating whether Kelly Oubre should be getting more consideration for 6th Man of the Year over Tyler Hero, and that conversation is completely gone. We were also discussing Miles Bridges for Most Improved Player, and I think that conversation is gone.
Yeah, I don't know if this stat line shows that more so on a national basis with Miles, but like it's probably gone because Darius Garland is going to take that. He's the leader in the clubhouse now. And when we talk about Kelly Oubre,
it's gone because the Hornets are losing. Like that's what you can't get an NBA award when your team has lost 8 out of the last 9, and if they continue to slide all the way out of the playoffs, then no Hornet will be in any kind of discussion.
Yeah, it's brutal right now. I mean, here they are. I believe they've only won 1 game now in their last 10 that they've played. Their only victory coming against the Detroit Pistons. You talk about Kelly Oubre. He goes 0 of 4 from the 3-point line. He missed some bunnies. I think in the third quarter, he did all right and hit some shots, but there was the one shot late where he wasn't able to convert on a potential and one that seemed like that's one where he should have finished. There was one shot earlier in the game that was point blank. Montrez Harrell is able to grab it and then stuff it home, but Kelly, could have hit that shot at least earlier on. Like Kelly's not good right now. It's really bad for him. One other thing we need to discuss, just as one of the bigger storylines of how this team played and just the rotation, was we saw a lot of Mason Plumlee, Montrez Harrell again. And you talked about it yesterday.
Double
you
big.
Thought that
sometimes 3 big because they ran PJ Washington out there with that crew too. Super big.
Well, and Borrego kind of talked about maybe running JT Thor at the 3, Miles Bridges at the 3.
I need more Thor. I got a little bit of Thor.
I know. I was wondering where you were going to be with him because you said you wanted to see him in the first quarter and you didn't want to see him in garbage time. Well, you did get Thor at the end of the first. You got Thor at the beginning of the second, at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. That was it. That was the 11 minutes, a little bit past it for JT. But I do want to talk about just going real big. Montrez, Mason on the floor. It was weird because here's Mason Plumlee almost getting a triple-double and should have had it by the third quarter. Miles Bridges missed what was it? Was it him not being able to hold on to a pass, or I think he missed a layup in the third quarter?
Poor Mason. Just an opportunity. It wouldn't be his first triple-double, by the way. He may have more than this, but I know for a fact he had one in Detroit.
14 points, 17 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds. And he had 9 assists. And again, he had 9 assists by the third quarter, except Miles Bridges can't finish. The other thing about Miles, look, I'm going to say something positive about him too, but the other one was like the Montrez Harrell heater, like probably a little off target.
The hot salami.
It was hot. It was a little behind him. It was one. It's one of those, if the quarterback is throwing to the running back coming out of the flat, like you don't hit him in stride, but still the running back
hands
needs
on
to
it,
hold
gotta
on
catch
to
it. Hands on,
yeah,
catch it.
That would have been a dunk, and that would have given them the lead. Now Minnesota comes back and hits a 3 right after that, if I'm not mistaken. But that was something that hurt them. All coming back to the big lineup. At the end of the game, I don't want it. And we saw it in overtime.
Well, at the end of the game, and you
quarter.
still can't get a defensive rebound. That's the frustrating part about it, right?
Well,
you go super big and you can't get a daggone rebound.
Right, because it was weirdly working at first. Like Mason was hitting people on cuts and Trez was still finishing at a high level, and defensively they weren't giving up a ton of points. They had a 10-point lead. And then at the end, like that's where it just doesn't work for you. I think you need to have PJ out there defensively and as a 3-point shooter. Mason, Montrez, they're not good defensively. They're not going to be 3-point shooters. I think you can't play those guys constantly. You need to have PJ out there. When Jalen comes back, fine, put Jalen back there. But you need a defender. Like you need somebody that I can trust on that end of the floor. And I just can't really do that with Trez and Mason. Even if it worked for a while, great. But closing minutes, we were all a little wary of it, and it turned out like our worries came to fruition.
We have a lot of international viewers now that we've moved to YouTube, and I'm not sure exactly how my daggone is going to land. I made a joke
Roy
on
Williams, maybe.
Yeah, I just don't know if they're going to understand daggone. But someone on Twitter, a follower of ours, made a joke that Plumlee looked like Walmart Jokic out there. And then I replied, he looks like Big Lots Country. And the follower is from Australia. And so I had to do some Googling to understand that reference. Big Lots Country.
Big Lots, is that a Southern thing? I think Big Lots got to the north, right?
I don't know. I don't know the geography. I don't know the scope of the Big Lots in North America. But, Big Country did play in Canada.
So. He did. That's true. So, yeah, Big Lots, Big Country. What about a Winn-Dixie Jokic? Maybe we could go that way.
I think that's pretty. I think Winn-Dixie, although there was a movie with Winn-Dixie in it. Where are we going with this? I'm not sure.
Has gone off the rails because I was genuinely interested in talking more about that.
This is what happens. This is what happens when the Hornets lose 8 of their last 9 games. And by the way, Walker, I just want to say this. 4 of these were very winnable games. You can if you wanted to stretch it, say 5 and say that the Memphis game. I'm not going to count that one because of how horrible the first half was against Memphis. And they made this, rally, but no chance of winning that game. And so 4 of these were winnable. If they win 4 of these games, Walker, we're talking about them in, at worst, 7th, but probably 6th in the East right now. Instead, we're looking at this, and the Hornets are, with one more game to go before the All-Star break, are quickly slipping out of even the play-in conversation.
Or just win 2 or 3. Like, let's say they are struggling, but they're not just completely faltering.
We saw that happen earlier in the season when they were down a lot of players and they were going out west and losing a lot. They had key wins against Atlanta on December 5th and then Sacramento on December 10th. That was in the midst of 5 other losses. And they got a win against San Antonio after a loss to Dallas. So they were able to sprinkle in, some opportunities against decent teams, not Detroit. The win against Detroit barely counts. It should count as a half a win. I mean, the Detroit Pistons are losing by 26 points a game. I mean, it's crazy how bad they are.
All right, Wes Bryant's going to – you're not done. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. So please stop me before I just say something outrageous and make another big
You want to talk
reference.
about the Piggly Wiggly before we go on? Is that something you want to do? Let's go to Wes Bryant. Let's go there quickly. All right, NBA fans. You're looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA. I know you are. You need to try the award-winning app PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love it. I know you will too. If you go to PrizePicks, it's extremely easy to use. You pick a couple of players, maybe 5, and over-under on their projections. And you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. PrizePicks is safe. It also offers fast withdrawals. Using the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play is something that you can do. So for a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point, but you must use code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use code NBA. $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores just a single point. Wes Bryant going to be with us on the other side to cheer us all up. Coming up next, Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
You give them the pink to let them know you have a little bit of a softer side, but you give them the black to let them know it's still real out here. Don't run up on me, okay? I just got to let you know it's still real.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
It's still real out here with Wes Bryant joining us on West Wednesdays on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your pods. Find Wes on Twitter, by the way, the Gram, Facebook, all the social media at Wes Got Range. He's also got the fashion with the sweater he brings in. Everything he wears on the show is straight fire.
Yeah.
Appreciate you hopping on, man. How are you doing?
What's going on? Glad to be back with my guys. We missed last week, but hey, no time like the present.
Doug's got a baby. That's what he's been using as an excuse.
Baby, I was in LA.
Hey,
Super
Doug,
Bowl week.
I know. Look, Doug, look, Walker, he doesn't know that dad life yet. He don't know.
I really don't. I'm scared. The way you guys, I'm petrified to do that.
No. You don't need to be scared. You think that people automatically think that before It happens, but once you have it, man, it's adjusting a little bit to your life. There's some adjustments to be made, but it's straight, man. Because the thing is, like people say, it's cliche. It's no handbook to it. You just got to take it day by day, hour by hour, and just do you, man. You'll be a great dad. Well,
I appreciate that.
It's an absolute treasure. Every time you look at their face, you're reminded that people let you off the hook for everything when you have a baby. Like, all you just say is, I have a baby. They say, okay, oh, sorry.
I was just about to say that. You can't use kids for a great excuse for a lot of stuff.
Okay, you know what? You guys are right. I'm having a baby. You guys can go have one. Thank you, guys.
And it never stops until they get older. You can use them for excuses all the time. You're like, look, man, I got to take my son here. I can't come. Or, nah, I can't do that, man. Me and my son got to. What people going to say? What are they going to say?
Well, look, I have no problem using anything as an excuse for any kind of poor work that I put out there. And so, you guys have convinced me. I'm going to go have one.
Yeah, man.
See you in 9 months. All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate you hopping on with us, Wes, and give me the life advice. The Hornets need some advice on how to get back on track because it's been ugly here in Buzz City. They only have one win in their last 10 games now. Their last win outside of Detroit was against the Lakers. And even then, I remember us talking about that victory against the Lakers, and it seemed like that it seemed like they might lose that one. There were still some problems in that game, but they were able to hold on, and we were giving this team credit for being able to do that. And now, like against Minnesota, you're up 10 points. They come crawling back and eventually win in overtime. How much of this is because of the youth, Wes? Like, how much of this is because this team is still young? LaMelo Ball is the leader. Miles Bridges in his 4th season. You know, it's not like he's a complete puppy out there, but he's also not this seasoned veteran. You know, what is playing a role in some of these losses, not being able to finish games?
Man, the biggest thing has just been the shooting. It just comes and it goes. I mean, you look at these games. I mean, we were shooting the lights out the majority of the season. And then it seemed like the last 3 weeks or so, like we have a quarter where we look like the greatest offensive team in basketball. And then we have a quarter where we look like we can't play a lick. I forget which game was we had, the 8-point quarter. I forget which game that was. I mean, you look at last night, we shoot 24% from 3, 41% for the game. So it's like we make some silly mistakes here and there. But I think for the most part, we get away sometimes from our identity in some matchups. Like when we play against some of the better teams, especially like the Heat or teams that can really play defense, that really take away, that are good enough to be able to close off the paint, but then they can also close out on the Hornets threes. We have a hard time with that. And then we start to play a little hero ball sometimes. But then, like last night, you look, Harrell had the one back down. Miles cuts. He's wide open. Miles drops the ball. Or Mason drops the ball coming into the paint. Or, Terry, misses a couple shots that he normally would make. And all that stuff when a team gets hot like the Timberwolves did. Look, Karl Anthony Towns wasn't shooting the ball well from 3 at all. And then he just turns into Larry Bird all of a sudden down the stretch and hitting everything he puts up. So it's like, man, I think it's just some bad fortune. I think the depth is catching up a little bit. We could use some of those guys, especially Cody and Jalen and a lot of those guys. We could use that because if you look at this roster now with the addition of Harrell, which I love, by the way, I'm sure we'll get to that. But, this team at full strength can literally go 10 deep. And so I think now, I'm not sure if guys are running out of gas late in games or what, but the shooting, I think, is the number one thing. It's just been coming and going. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, go ahead, Doug.
The 8-point quarter was against Miami, that disastrous quarter in the blowout. By the way, they play Miami coming up on Thursday, right before the
My son told me after the game he was going to be a Heat fan after that.
Oh my goodness!
Oh no!
You know how kids do? They go with the winner. That's one thing I learn about the kids too. Walker, if you have a kid, especially a son, when they watch games, they're gonna go with who the winner is.
Right.
They switch up mid-game on you. But no, that game was real. What were you gonna say, Doug?
But I think the depth conversation is a serious point because I think the Hornets, just the way they were structured, the youth, the lack of kind of multiple superstars means that you really do have to stay healthy. And we've seen not only in this stretch, but in a lot of stretches this season, James Borrego has really relied on the veteran players that he does have, not so much on the rookies, and he has shortened rotations, a lot of minutes, a lot of miles on these guys heading into the All-Star break. But they did add one player, Montrez Harrell, to at least add some depth down low. What have you seen from Harrell in his few game debut?
Oh, I love it, especially with the fact that we didn't have to give up much to get him. Yeah. We needed a guy, had been saying, that can slow the pace, get you a bucket in the half-court setting. That Miles, even though he's one of the NBA leaders in points in the paint per game, but he has to start, or he starts a lot of his possessions from the three-point line, whether it's the elbow, top of the key, and he drives. So that's a different type of paint player, especially when you play teams who pick up on that tendency, and especially when his three ball isn't falling like it has not been. So teams say, okay, we're just going to back off you and give you space and let you shoot. Whereas now we have a guy that's going to come and set up on the block. You can push the ball in there. He's decisive with the basketball when he gets it. He's either going to go or he's going to pass. And so that makes the defense have to make a decision quickly. We saw it at the end of that the game with Lord have mercy. Who was that?
Well, against the Grizzlies, he was coming up big.
Yes, yeah. The Grizzlies. So down the stretch, we saw that they started committing to double teams. He would kick it to one guy, hockey assist to somebody else, open shot. And so I think that's what he brings to the table. And I'm very excited to see that. And coming into this game, I felt like they would really be able to do some damage if they could just get off to a good start. And I said in the post game after that Grizzlies game, I said, it's like the Hornets don't believe a team is good until they get hit in the mouth and they're down 16. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, this team can play. Like, it's like, come on. Like, if they could just start games. I mean, they played that second half against the Grizzlies with such a sense of urgency. And it's like, and I know JB feels like if we could just bottle that up for 4 quarters, man, we would be really something to deal with.
You know, here's something we haven't talked about as much. When we talk about the shooting problems, before we get to the third segment, LaMelo had a real cold streak in the entire month of January where he was shooting below 30%. On 7 attempts per game. It was real bad. He's fixed that this month. Yep. Like LaMelo's actually not been a part of the shooting woes, and he's been fixed that for a while now. They've got a bunch of L's, but it's because a lot of other people aren't shooting well. Like his numbers have kind of stabilized. You look at him, he's shooting 45% from deep this month alone. He goes 3 of 8 last night. That's actually one of the worst shooting nights that he's had so far in the month of February. You go to his backcourt, mate. That's where it gets troublesome because Kelly Oubre in a awful downfall right now, can't hit anything. PJ Washington, you know, over a season sample, he's going to shoot 40, but can go through fluctuations here and there. We know that Miles Bridges has not been the same shooter as he was last year, but Terry Rozier, that's what's really hurting because if you look at him attempting almost 10 and a half 3-pointers per game in this month, he's shooting 31%. I think if you look at Terry, he's got to get it going from deep, and I think that's going to fix some of these L's too. It's not Terry's fault. Like everybody's got to get better. I don't want to say that, but we're talking about guys that you're used to being just lights out shooting. That's what Terry's been the last few years here with Charlotte. It has not been that way for him. February or January started to go down a little bit, but February it's been pretty disastrous for them.
Yeah, and so the thing LaMelo did, he hit a stretch for about 5 games or so where he was one of the tops in the league as far as drives and getting to the line and doing those things. And that's the way he started to fix those woes. And that's the way a lot of guys do it too. But like you said with Terry, he has been putting them up. And so it just hurts when they hit those coaches, when LaMelo's not hitting his threes. And then when Terry's not hitting his threes. And Kelly, like you said, that's been the guy I've been wanting to get back on track because so many looks that he was hitting that you felt like you could just start running back the other way for. I mean, he's had, of course, looks that have been contested, but he's had open looks that he normally knocks down that haven't been going down. And so they go through a stretch of 3, 4, 5 minutes where they don't score and the other team goes on an 8-10-0 run. Well, yeah, that's how they find themselves down double digits. And then your margin of error, like with the Grizzlies, it becomes so slim. I mean, that comeback they had was amazing. I mean, I was literally sitting there when Montrez got the 3-point play. I was like, man, we're about to win this game and this is going to be unbelievable. But it's like the margin of error is so small. You cut a 30-point lead to 5. You're lucky enough to do that. But then Ja Morant comes down and you make one missed assignment or something like that. Or like last night, I saw Doug pointed it out on Twitter with Miles giving up the back door. It's like you make one little mistake here or there, and you kind of right back at square one. So it's like it just teeter-totters a lot like my college teams at Wake Forest. Either the offense is rolling and the defense is not, and then the defense gets going and the offense is not. And they just got to find that happy medium where they both have been, where they both can be on the same plane.
Yeah, and I think all of this stuff kind of works together, right? I mean, some of the defensive issues that they've had have been attention to detail kind of things that sometimes you can make up for when you have a serious rim protection threat and you're not throwing out all of these junk defenses. You're playing a lot of zone. And guys have had to play more minutes because of injuries, because of COVID. And that's probably, related to some of these shooting woes. These guys are out of gas. The legs are heavy. We're heading into the All-Star break. All this stuff sort of flows together. But what makes this Minnesota loss, I think, particularly frustrating is that the Charlotte Hornets were not hitting shots, and yet the offense was coming relatively easy because they were getting to the basket. They were getting fouled. They got a lot of foul opportunities. They missed some sort of clutch free throw opportunities, but they were volume at least was good from the free throw line. And yet, they still have these little detail pieces that caused them to lose the game, giving up the 9 offensive rebounds.
And not to mention missing clutch free throws too, man, because Miles missed a few down the stretch that you felt like they had a chance to go up one and he missed and he only tied. But yeah, you look, they shot 37 free throws last night. When's the last time we've seen that? Because we know the Hornets, as far as free throw attempts, has been in the bottom tier of the league for most of the year.
Well, and the thing about Miles too, real quickly, like Miles Bridges, I mean, huge 3-pointer in the corner, and I want to give him credit for that. And the ability to drive, he's been so good at finishing at the rim all season long. And then he drives, gets fouled. You're thinking, okay, hit a couple of free throws, and then you win this thing. He only ties it. You hope that he can hit both of these free throws, especially last year where he's almost at 90% from the charity stripe. It's gone significantly down this year. But Miles had a lot of offensive plays where he really helped the Hornets stay in it or, at least keep pace with the momentum that the Timberwolves were having. But, it just in the end, it didn't work out. So they lose again to Minnesota. 1 of their last 10 have resulted in a victory. You got one more game against Miami. That's tomorrow night. Before the All-Star break, it would be a huge victory for them just to stabilize themselves again and then to get to 500, 8 days rest, come back, play the last third of the season and see what can happen. So we'll see exactly if the Hornets can get a victory tomorrow. Enough of that. Let's go to the positive vibes. Straight fire, straight fizzle. Also show and tell. We're playing so many games here because we love to do that on the Locked On Hornets podcast. And if you like to play games and if you like to maybe put a little skin in the game, then go to Bet Online. Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, betonline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information, all of that good stuff. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. We're playing games ourselves coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
You think no, Russ? Do you think he's coming out?
Listen.
Okay.
Listen, number one. Are you listening? Number one, he's a certified gamer. Number 2, part game, don't rust.
I'm with
part game, don't rust.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
It is not a Wes Wednesday until Wes takes us mobile or
Wes
he leaves the camera entirely. I love it. He is on the scene. We are going to get to his show and tell. Doug is contributing. I don't really have anything at the drop of a hat right now. Like I just don't have anything as cool as I'm sure what you guys have. Let's go to Wes first because you are the guest, and that's only what a good person with a good hospitality might do. So Wes, let's go see what your product is today for show and tell.
All right. So you guys asked for, so I've got the, hold on, let me
what is this going to be?
What is this?
He's putting on. This is going to be what
he's putting on.
I'm not going to put it on for you. I'm not going to put it on for you, but I got it for you to show.
Okay.
I would like for you to put it on. I think so. That would be
okay. Hold on. Say
no.
Okay, no. Yes, let him put it on.
Put it on over this.
All right.
You want it?
While you do that, I'm going to do my show and tell really quick.
Okay, do your thing. Hold on.
All right.
Perfect.
So recently I went out to LA. I went to the Super Bowl Radio Row. So I have two things. I got a mug. Anytime I go to a city, I get a little cafe. I like to go to a diner and try to buy a mug. This is from the original Pantry in downtown Los Angeles. It says since 1924, never closed. They were closed on Monday and Tuesday. I had to go on Wednesday.
Except for those 2 days.
Except for those 2 days, they never closed. All right, second, real quick. At Radio Row, we interviewed someone who has done Super Bowl posters, famous Super Bowl posters, and I got these cards. Look at this Mad Mac here.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I actually saw Jim McMahon. It's like a Road Warrior Jim McMahon poster for the listeners. It looks like he's holding maybe like a Nintendo gun. You know those Nintendo like
it looks like it looks like there's fire surrounding him. Is that smoke that is surrounding him?
Yeah, it's smoke. It's like a Mad Max kind of thing, but it's a Mad Max.
Perfect.
The bears are behind him. There's an actual bear, I think, in the poster. And again, I think
really
this was
cool.
before the days of Photoshop. So I think they actually put a trained bear next to the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. That seems kind of dangerous.
Hope it's a trained bear. Yeah.
I didn't even think about this. Like, I've got three more, okay? I've got one from Warren Moon, Dan Marino, and Troy Aikman, but I can actually, they're all wearing things. I can actually use these for fire and fizzle. So I'm going to save the rest of my show and tell for fire and fizzle.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Wes.
All right. So yeah, for those that don't know, real quickly, as Doug was killing time as well as giving us that good old show and tell content.
What are you talking about? Killing time? That was excellent content.
That was, and you can only see it on YouTube. So go check us out there. During that entire time, Wes, I didn't expect this. I thought Wes was going to put on like an awesome sweatshirt or a jersey, maybe put on some shoes. But really, he put all of the above on except for shoes. He is currently wearing a onesie, a Charlotte Hornets onesie. He's got the hood on. I mean, you look comfy, Wes. Look at that. Bang. There you go. Turn around.
That's because I got the sweatshirt on underneath. I didn't take the sweatshirt off.
That's all right. That's okay. Yeah. Tell us the story about the onesie.
All right, man. So I was just, like I said, I go through, hold on. I have me burning up in this thing.
The onesie is too warm. He's currently now stripping the onesie off.
It is for the winter time. So
don't turn into straight fire right here in front of us.
So I'm going through the team store like I do, at our production meeting, and a little trip through there just to see what they have.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking around and, I see the onesie and I said, man, I know people wear them for holidays and stuff. You take a cute picture with your girl or with your family and your onesie and all that. But I see it. I said, man, I think about it. I said, well, you know what? I said at night, if I do get chilly, I said, I will go put on sweatpants and a sweatshirt. I said, this could just defeat the purpose. I got it all in one stop right here.
Two birds, one onesie.
2 birds and 1 stone. So I looked and I said, so I saw it was, I think it was like $35 or something like that.
That's a steal. That is listen, as a onesie connoisseur, $35 is an absolute steal.
If we were to play Price is Right on the onesie, I don't know what I've never even begin to know.
That's a sweater and pants for $35.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because when I was a kid, I had a Snuggle Bunny, man. I did used to like those a lot. When I was a kid, you had a Snuggle Bunny with the little feet.
Familiar? What is this Snuggle Bunny?
With the feet. It's just like a onesie except it has the feet in it.
So it's like what Ralphie wears in A Christmas Story, or
yeah.
Right? Okay.
When I was a kid, like man, Snuggle Bunnies Snuggle Bunnies were dope.
Okay.
So I was like, man, let me get that, and I got it. So on some of the really cold nights that we've had, man, I come home after the game and I put it on. If we win, I call it a Wednesday. Oh. You know what I'm saying? But
we love it.
But I come in and I throw it on, man. But it can get warm, man. It really can.
I don't wish this on you, but yet I do find it funny. if you hear a weird noise in the night and you need to get up and you need to put the beat down on somebody, and then you run out of the bedroom because of that noise in your onesie, ready to beat down on someone. That's the kind of picture that I want to see at least play out sometime. Not actual danger, just maybe the perception of danger. And then you run out with your hood dangling.
Ready to go.
Who's there?
And
that's what I want to see.
And I'm gonna be warm if I got to step outside in the winter. I'm gonna be good. I won't be out there. You know what I'm saying? So
but I'll give you another scenario that you need to be prepared for as a onesie expert. I can give you some advice here. It's getting up in the middle of the night and having to go to the bathroom. What I suggest is to run like a fire drill. Okay. You know how, emergency preparedness is super key. Anytime, you want to know how to get out of your house quickly in the event of a fire. You want to actually run through that scenario so that you and your family are prepared. I suggest the same thing for the onesie. Pretend like you really have to go to the bathroom, like it's happening now, and get yourself out of the onesie and just, make some mistakes so that you don't make mistakes in your onesie.
Yes, and I don't sleep in the onesie. It comes off before bed. It comes off before bed. I put it on when I get up, man. But so I got that. And then gave LaMelo a little more of my money. So I got
you got,
you know what I'm saying? I got the so I got those. I got my son a pair too, man. So, that's another thing, Walker, when you have a abnormally large son that wears a man's shoe too, then you start paying for 2 pairs of men's shoes.
Which is going to happen. Like, I'm huge. Like that's
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you got a 10-year-old that wears a 9.5 and you pay for 2 pairs of men's shoes. So the days of buying kids' shoes have long been gone. And so that's another fun part as well. And he's yet to wear his, because in the Bryant household, the behavior, the academics have to all match up before we get the goodies.
That's right.
So, I told him, but it's not like my son is spoiled rotten. So it's not like it's a slouch. He has a nice pair of Kyrie's that I paid $120 for that he plays basketball in. Those are his designated basketball shoes.
Are those low tops?
Because the Kyrie's?
Yeah.
The Kyrie's are mids.
Okay.
He has those because he absolutely annihilates his school shoes. So you have to buy designated shoes. I'm like, these are strictly for basketball and when we hang out, man. Which, I don't know if you guys saw on a picture. I know you guys like that, maybe not show and tell, but I did coach my son's basketball team on Saturday. It was my basketball coaching debut. One night only. Yes, I did. We won 20-8.
Excellent. Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
All right. What was your offensive strategy? What was your defensive strategy?
Man, so the coach, I just kind of went off of what he did. He was trying to teach them like zone concepts, but they're 10. I mean, you're fighting to get them to look at you for 10 seconds.
Sure.
And so, of course, Bryce is looking at me because I'm dad. So he's looking, but even sometimes he's kind of wandering off, looking at stuff. But I knew they had the best team. And I'm not saying that because it's my kid's team. All the other teams, they have maybe one good kid, but my son has like 4 good players on his team, which I get a little jealous. You know what I'm saying? We're veering off here. I get a little jealous. I never won anything, no type of championship I won. My son already has been on an undefeated championship team. At the NS team that he's on now, they have 1 loss and cruising towards another championship. So I'm sitting there like,
you got to live vicariously. You got to just jump on that train.
My son is Tim Tebow. He's just winning everything. So I just came out and just told him that I tried to tell him a little bit of zone. Then when they had one kid that was hitting a couple buckets that was a little problematic, I tried to coach him up to double him to get the ball out of his hands, but they didn't really listen or whatever. But they were so good. And then offensively, you just got to let them go. They're 10-year-olds, man. You can't coach them to run an offensive set. You're going to have a couple of them that think they're good and they're going to shoot the ball every time they get a chance, no matter how many kids in their face. But where Bryce makes his bones is that he's by far the tallest kid out there, and he's pretty good at rebounding. So he eats off the misses. So that's what he gets his buckets off.
It's a trash can.
And then he gets the steals, but he'll get the steals and he'll get some rebounds and go coast to coast. That was some of my more coaching moments, was getting on certain guys for doing certain stuff. And like one time my son got the ball, he stole it, and he's going, and I'm telling him he passed the ball. And I'm like, Bryce, do not pass the ball. You had a one-on-one. Take it all the way. So the next time he got it,
I think he got a rebound or something. And I'm yelling out, all the way, all the way, all the way. And so he takes, and the kid was like right in his hip pocket, and he puts the ball off the glass, and it rolled, and then it just teed it off the front. I was like, oh.
Sometimes LaMelo does that, I feel like. Sometimes LaMelo is a little too unselfish, maybe trying to rack up a few more assists.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, just take that to the cup.
Yeah, I tell my son, I'm like, you the biggest dude out there. I said, scorer's mentality. I said, when you get the ball, I said, unless it's 2 kids on you, I said, try to score every time. So, So we did that. But, I got the Melos I got here. So I told him he will not be wearing his Melos to hoop in until I get a great week, which he's not, which let me preface it by saying, not a bad kid, no fighting or nothing like that. He is dad reincarnated, okay? Talking, disrupting.
Got to keep him focused.
I said dad all over
put the blinders on.
So I said, man, we got to get that good week. So hopefully this week he can finish up strong so he can rock his Melos too. But I got those, man. And I got a red blazer coming for y'all that I just got. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait. But I can't wear it on Thursday because I can't represent the Ops. I can't be wearing the Miami Heat.
Makes
colors.
sense. Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. But you save that for us. You make your debut in the blazer.
Okay.
And you do that on Wednesday next week.
Yeah.
That was a ton of fire. Okay. Like here we are talking about your Melo shoes, your coaching debut. We started this off with a onesie. I mean, it was straight fire. Doug, do we go straight fizzle or fire right now? Or do you want to save that for next week possibly?
Here's what I would like to do.
Okay.
We'll release. I want to do it right now because I spent the time to prepare it, but we will release it as a bonus YouTube video. So let's go ahead.
I like that. And
we'll wrap the show and then we'll do a bonus fire and fizzle. So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you haven't had a reason yet to go to YouTube, then visit us on YouTube, youtube.com/Locked On Hornets podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and see our bonus fire and fizzle with Wes Bryant.
All right. Bonus stuff coming up. We are doing lots of things on the Locked On Hornets podcast, and we've got Wes for another segment. Thanks to him for joining us for the main thing, the main podcast. And thanks to you for making us your first listen every day. Do make sure you go check out and make your second listen Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Have a great rest of your day. Not only will we be back with you with a bonus episode with Wes Bryant in just a moment, we'll also be back with you tomorrow to talk about the game coming up against the Miami Heat. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.